What's going on, everybody? Today I want to talk about something that I actually didn't even realize was in the game. Another hidden cap to our gear progression relating to challenge rifts. I saw this on Reddit and I wasn't sure if this was true. So in this video, I went ahead and just cleared a bunch of challenge rifts that I had not cleared in a while. Just so happened to get rank 1 on Barb. But I want to showcase what this looks like and see if it's actually true. What I'm talking about here is a gear cap for upgrades on our secondary items. This is a huge thing because if this is true, then there is hardly any point to doing challenge rifts. In fact, I would argue that there wasn't really a huge point in doing them before. But let's go ahead and find out here. So I have a bunch of enigmatic crystals saved up. We're going to upgrade to 10 and see what it's like when we go ahead and upgrade a few levels. And that's going to bring us to 9 and then bring us to 10. And albeit rank 10 is the absolute maximum of our secondary gear pieces. This is very strange. I did not know this even existed. There's still a whole bunch of challenge rifts for us to do. I'm not sure whether they end, to be honest. I'm not sure if they end at a certain level. I obviously don't have as much combat rating as those people with 7k resonance out there do. But if I just keep scrolling, it just says more. I thought this went infinitely. Be honest, I'm not quite sure. It doesn't say anything. I'm not quite sure if it caps at like level 200 or something. But if I were to go ahead and climb up to 180, I'd be dangerously close to go ahead and max out most, if not all, of my pieces here to rank 10. Which means, what's the point of doing challenge rifts? So behind me, you'll see me clearing out some of the lower level challenge rifts. I kind of did not do challenge rifts for about a week or so after I swapped to Barb. And so I was getting boosted in terms of someone ended up running a very high level challenge rift with me, which I can easily do solo, but that would allow me to go ahead and come back and clear all these ones in groups instead of doing everyone individually. And you'll see that behind me. But right now, if the cap is level 10, one of the biggest reasons that people, when I made a video on how combat rating is pretty useless at a certain point because you reach the soft cap, a lot of people said, oh, but you can push challenge rifts is one of their counter arguments, as well as Heliquary. Again, that kind of, to me, didn't really make sense because, well, we were pushing challenge rifts to get more combat rating to go ahead and have it be useless in PvE content because you've already reached the cap. But even in this case, let's just say that combat rating is this massively important thing that you really want to go ahead and absolutely cap out. Well, you've capped out on all the upgrades you can get from challenge rifts. So what is the reason to do challenge rifts? Well, then someone would say, okay, well, you can get the hell upgrades where you can get the certain hell unlocks. Well, there's no hell 6. And I think I'll have a video coming out talking about hell 6 and whether it's even a good thing to even have hell 6 if it was implemented into the game. But there's no combat rating gain. There's no extra drop gain. So challenge rifts would purely be done for the fact of getting XP and loot from the challenge rifts, which we've already established is worthless. I guess there's another argument that you could say, well, rank 1 challenge rift leaderboards or ranking on the challenge rift leaderboards. That is a personal thing that's really just gated by money, in my opinion. Usually, if someone spends 7k, they're going to be rank 1. So pushing challenge rifts, in my opinion, doesn't have a lot of merit to it. You know, someone can say, I'm rank 1. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm sure you've grinded the game. I'm sure you've spent money, right? Those two things are kind of a given if you're rank 1 on a challenge rift leaderboard at this point. Now, granted, there are some people that have grinded more than others and can push past some of the spending through grinding, but for the most part, you can't do it as a free-to-play player. And so what this means is, the only thing that's viable here for farming challenges or for doing challenges at all is really the XP. Because even if you are climbing those leaderboards, that is for personal gain in terms of accomplishment, because the rank 1 through 10 challenge rift leaderboard rewards are exactly the same, and they're not even that good. It's literally 500 hilts. What does 500 hilts give you? 1 and a little bit more than 1.5 rare crests. What do rare crests give you? Hardly anything, especially if you're in that situation where you're pushing rank 1 leaderboards. Because you've spent money, those rare crests will be basically worthless to you. So 500 hilts doesn't mean anything. That's a weekly reward. Again, I come back to the only thing that's worthwhile to do challenge rifts for is XP and for loot. Which means there should be no reason why someone's pushing past their combat rating to push their challenge rift leaderboards. or push their challenge rift level, because one of the main reasons people did that was for enigmatic crystals to go ahead and upgrade your gear. But we've already established that if you're at rank 10, you're done. Now, granted, I will mention that rank 10 is much farther than the average player can actually acquire, because most people haven't spent that amount of money to get, the extra 200 combat rating to allow them to push, 5-10 levels or so. So most people haven't reached the cap. In fact, I haven't even reached the cap. The people who are reaching the cap right now are the 7K Resonance players. However, in the next 2 weeks, I could very well have reached the cap in terms of secondary item upgrades if I decide to push challenge rifts, which means in a month from now, or a month and a half from now, you've capped out on secondary gear upgrades as a low spender or maybe free to play. Again, I can't really tell you what timeline that is, but I can imagine that eventually in the next month or so that you'll reach that cap, which means challenge rifts in general have become a useless game mode. There's no reason to run these, in my opinion, because again, if you want to run these for XP and loot, you're going to run these perhaps once every 3 weeks when you've gathered, 400 combat rating, and you can knock them all out very quickly, because then you can get groups, like large completion bonuses, because when you run one challenge rift above the runs that you have not completed before, it will complete a set of them, like 3 to 4, and that will go ahead and give you all the rewards of the enigmatic crystals and the XP and the loot drops, so it's very efficient then. But to run them and push them, there's no reason you should be doing that, because again, the only thing you're getting out of them is XP and legendary drops, and so you should just be running open world farming because it's going to be more efficient that way. So if that's the case, again, it's useless. There's other game modes that are more efficient. This just feels really, really bad. Again, one of the biggest PvE game modes that people are pushing for, if you are a PvE only player, you have dungeons for set items, you have open world farming for legendary items, and you have challenge rifts to kind of showcase some of your skill, if you want to call it that, rather than just combat rating, because it's oftentimes just combat rating. There isn't really a crazy amount of skill when it comes to these things. So you really have just a game mode where it has become obsolete, like completely obsolete. There is literally zero reason, in my opinion, to run this game mode if you can't upgrade your gear. Again, that's the premise. In my opinion, even upgrading your gear was a very worthless concept, because I believe that combat rating is not a very particularly useful thing. Again, you might get some value in some PvP game modes. However, in those situations, I'd find myself, if I was on par with another 3K player, I would have grinded enough to have more combat rating than them. And then if I was, fighting someone who was higher resonance than me, I would have been dwarfed anyways, and then no amount of grinding would have changed that at all. So to me, challenge rifts have already been a game mode where I've not been particularly interested in for a long time. Since, earlier on into the game, when I was trying to really, really push hard for Hell 2, a day earlier when we were all pushing super hard. But now that I'm at Hell 5, I don't see a reason for me to go and grab more combat rating even so. But there isn't even a way to get me more combat rating because the upgrades are capped. Very, very strange, and I think they should absolutely revamp the challenge rift system to get some other rewards. Maybe unique portraits, maybe buff the leaderboard rewards, and scale it a little bit better, or add guaranteed legendaries if you run, 5 of these or whatever. I don't know how you would end up even fixing this, to be honest, because it's purely combat rating gated, and now you have a situation where you've capped the upgrades. You could extend the upgrades, I guess, and make it go up to rank 15 or whatever, or maybe that's the end of challenge rifts in general. Again, I'm not sure. If anyone can let me know in the comment section down below, or is there a cap to challenge rifts? As far as I've seen, I've not seen a cap to the challenge rift level, and so the rank upgrade should just go as far as you have challenge rifts, in my opinion. There shouldn't be a cap to your challenge or your secondary gear upgrades when there isn't cap to the levels, or the level of the challenge rifts goes past those upgrades materials. It just doesn't make any sense to me. To me, this is another silly hidden cap that we're just randomly discovering now because we can finally upgrade our gear to 10. And this goes back and doubles down on the premise that we had early on, which they shouldn't be capping upgrades in the first place. And now we have another way that they've capped it. Very, very strange to me. Let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. I know most of you probably haven't even seen this before because it is, a requirement that you kind of have to spend money in the game to reach this amount of combat rating. But you saw there, as I tested live, upgrading one piece to 10, it's capped. I can't even upgrade that piece anymore. So to me, there's no reason to do challenge rifts. It's a little sad. Again, thank you for watching. If you did watch to this point, let me know what your thoughts are down below. I wanted to let you all know because I think it's potentially going to be a very serious issue coming forward for people who are enjoying challenge rifts and that type of gameplay. Then your whole reward ecosystem and your feedback for that is kind of gone once you've reached rank 10. So let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.